Welcome everybody. Today we'll be talking about how to never lose another lead. And if you want, I'll tell you exactly what the answer is right now, so you don't have to stay throughout the whole presentation if you like. But it's very simple. It's you need to have the right process, you need to have the right tools, and you probably see the big hashtag there. Do the work. You have to be willing to work hard. So let's get into the details. I'll start with a quick introduction here. My name is Dimitar Alexandrov. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Broadlume. And when I talk about product, I mean software product. I'm fairly new to the flooring industry, so my knowledge of flooring spans for about 2 years. I came from other industry, automotive, fintech. I've built, this is the third CRM system that I'm working on. Unfortunately, the other two were not pre-built. I get lucky that this one is actually a very robust system. So I'm really excited about what we're going to be talking today, and I'll let Jason introduce himself.
So you guys all know who I am. You've heard me say it enough. Jason Goldberg, I own America's Sourcers. I'm also the guy who developed retail lead management and sold it to Broadlume. So when Broadlume decided to have this session on RLM and they decided to have Dimitar do it, I kind of called Dimitar and I said, maybe you want me here. So here I am, because I am the expert on RLM.
That's right. So you have two experts here, and my hope is in the next 30 minutes you will learn a ton about how to improve your business. But let me start with a quick introduction to some of the challenges that I personally encountered when I joined the flooring industry. I thought, okay, let me just talk with a number of dealers, see what hardships they're facing, and is this any different from other businesses that I've worked with. And very quickly I found out that actually there are quite a lot of similarities. I'll walk you through some of the pain points that I discovered while talking with flooring retailers. I'm sure none of you actually is aware of any of these things, but they happen out there. Right, I saw a ton of lack of process or very murky process that gets down to your bottom line. There are lost leads that you don't even know they existed and they never get called back. That results in lost revenues. That results in hiring more people to handle those leads, hopefully manually, but they do even worse job because there's training and all of that. And there's a lot of lack of understanding who's working on what, right? When the day starts and the whole whirlwind of installations and calls and all of that starts happening, it's really difficult to keep track of who's working on what, right? So those are just some of the challenges that many retailers are facing today. And then you look on the other side, the consumers, they're going around looking for, upgrading their next working on their next project. And, clear example, right? John Weller there calls the dealer and leaves a very detailed message about what project he's working on. He leaves his complete contact information and all of that. A day later, the dealer calls him and it's the favorite question, how can I help you? As if I don't know anything about what you just told me in your voicemail, right? And after a long conversation, they're like, sure, I'll get so-and-so to kind of come and help you out. And you get another call in a few days for somebody to come to visit your house, and they have the same exact nice question. Hey, how can I help you? What are you working on? Right? So there is some lack of communication there that adds up, and that creates a lot of frustration with consumers. The opposite part is even worse, which is some consumers never get a call back, right? They leave their contact information, nothing happens. And that results with unhappy customers, right? I don't know, Jason, if you're the resident expert here.
But I'm gonna simplify this whole slide for you. You spend money to drive leads to your business. If you don't have a system to manage those leads, you are most likely throwing part of that money away. It's just really simple. You have opportunities, you should manage those opportunities in a place that allow you to do it correctly so you don't lose those opportunities. And everything that's on that slide is when you don't use lead management or CRM, that's the kind of stuff that's going to happen, whether you realize it or not. So if you sit in this room right now, if you don't have a way to pull out your phone, okay, and do something like this, click that little RLM icon, and then very quickly, I don't know how fast the internet is in here.
It's not very fast, but
It's not very fast at all. Yeah. And then get to a report that shows you, whenever it wants to load, every lead you're working on in your whole company, who's handling it, what stage, what's going on, when the next task is. Yeah, we have really slow internet in here. Then you're not managing your business, right? You're wasting opportunities. You're wasting money.
that's right. So with that, I think we established there are challenges out there, and how do we approach these challenges, right? So what we said earlier, we need tools to manage this, and there are a number of terms that are floating out there. So we'll spend a minute here to clarify a little bit. There is lead management, there is CRM, all these abbreviations, all these systems. I'm sure many of you are using some of them. Some of you may not be, but ultimately there is the process between a consumer raises their hand and they say, hey, I'm interested in buying a product. There you go, it loaded.
Yeah, there it is. There's
Right.
the 4,079 leads open leads we're currently working on at my company. 4,079. You think you can manage that in your head or on pen and paper? No way.
Right. So that's why I need a lead management system or a CRM system. I'm not going to go into all the details here, but ultimately the difference is one of them handles the process between the consumer raising their hand and saying, hey, I'm interested in buying something from you, to the point of sale. The other one is a much more robust system that includes, marketing tools, all kinds of integrations, right? So the difference there is what we spoke about earlier. There's a different process how you handle that. So as a dealership, you have to be really ready to adjust your process, to do the work, because just buying a tool doesn't do it, right? You have a tool, but if you don't use it correctly, it doesn't go very far.
I want to add one thing to this slide. When you talk about lead management versus CRM, lead management, it's really simple. So when we designed the software, we wanted to make it, hey, how can we just focus on the lead? That's it. When you start adding CRM, right, where you can build a company and that company has contacts and there's all this other data, it makes the system a little more complex. So we designed it so that you could simply teach your people how to manage leads first, then flip a switch, and then add CRM second. So RLM has both of those capabilities. One's easy, one's a little more difficult.
So that's the major takeaway. There's different systems for different processes and how much you're willing to invest in that. Moving along, let's talk about RLM a little bit. So we're not going to go into all these details. We have limited time, but you can get a good demo of the system later on. The thing that you want to remember about this is RLM is not just a CRM system or a lead management system. It is a CRM system for the flooring industry, right? So it has all the key features that a CRM system should have, right? Associating similar leads into a contact. Let's say I'm going to use John there as my example today, but John calls 5 times this week. If it's a lead management, just any tool out there, there will be 5 different calls from John Weller. But a CRM system will connect them together and will say, well, this is John Weller. He called 5 times, right? So that's the difference. So you don't have to go and poke around and find all the 5 calls. Long story short, key features as every other CRM system. In addition to that, this is a flooring system. So there's some unique integrations with other flooring systems out there, right? So RLM talks with your website. It can send information to an ERP. There's a lot of connection that's making that are specific to your case, right? So if you take a CRM system off the shelf, most likely that CRM system will be an island, right? It's not going to talk to any of the other pieces of your world. Also, we're talking about specific things like checking out samples, right? I don't think there are many other systems out there that are not flooring that will have the concept of, oh, I have these samples. Customer came over and took that sample away, and I don't know who took it, where it went, right? So there's a way of tracking those things. So, you can customize pipelines. You can see if you put the right address there, you can see it on a map. You can see the value of that property on Zillow. So these are just a few of the unique flooring features. I think the emphasis here, though, is this is a system built by a top flooring dealer for himself, right? Because I'm sure you can elaborate a little bit more on why you built that and what you get out of it.
So here's what I want to say about this slide. When you use a lead management system like RLM, specifically RLM, you have the ability to customize the pipelines to your specific business. So when I talked yesterday in my keynote about, what business are you doing? Retail, property management, builder, wholesale. Each one of those has its own separate process, right? Its own way of doing business. So if you build a pipeline for how you attack retail, and then you try to use that in your builder space, it doesn't work correctly, right? One of the huge advantages of RLM is you can build as many pipelines as you want. So America's Floor Source, we have 19 pipelines built, 19. Every one of those is customized with its own fields and its own stages. So if I'm doing retail production, which retail production to me means that's a customer we're working with, we're working a lead. I have another pipeline that's called retail prospecting, because it's different, right? Retail production is Mrs. Jones coming into my store, calling our store, coming in through our website. She goes into that. But retail prospecting is my salesperson using a completely different staging system because he or she is going after realtors or remodelers. It's a prospecting. And then once we land that realtor, right, when that realtor then sends us a customer, that customer then goes through the production pipeline. So imagine having a prospecting and a production for every segment of your business. And then let's get a little crazy here. Like, how do you keep track of your installers? Like, do you prospect for installers? Where do you keep that information? We do it right in RLM. We have an installer prospecting pipeline. We have an HR pipeline. We don't put sensitive HR information, but I know every position we're currently trying to hire for. I know every applicant we have that we're considering. I have all that information in a separate pipeline RLM. So you can build it to work however you want it to work. So it's not just lead management CRM. It is how you can envision your company, and you want a process and a specific, you want to go from this step to this step to this step, and you want these fields, and you want to be able to take these notes. You can structure it right in there. So your business is only going to be as good as the systems and the structures that you set up to help you run it. The better those are, the more effective and efficient you're going to be, and systems like this help you do that.
Right. So bottom line, there's a flexibility built into this so that you can actually adjust it to your specific scenario, so you're more productive. We included some screenshots here. Again, we're not going to go through a complete demo of this system, but you can see, in a nutshell, you get all the relevant data at your fingertips. You can get it on your phone, side note, if you have connection. But, it works. And, you can get everything at a glance, but you can also dig into all the details for a customer, right? So you can go put notes there, etc. So that kind of starts building that process of not only knowing who to contact and about what, but you can keep track of what your conversation has been. You can upload files. You can do a number of things that help you make your life easier and more productive, right? You can assign to-dos, etc. The interesting part here also is the reporting, right? A lot of us rely on gut feelings, and your gut is great, but it's not a decision-making tool, right? Use it carefully. If you have a data set that you can actually know what's happening with your business, you can be that much more proactive. You probably listened to the presentation yesterday about leading indicators and lagging indicators. Well, there's a lot of leading indicators that you can monitor on a daily, hourly, whatever basis you want, just to make sure that okay, well, your team is busy, they're working on the right things, who's working on the right things, and all of these are very easily generated. You can customize them to what you need to monitor at that specific phase of your business, right? So I don't know, Jason, if you want to add anything more on reporting or how you make decisions.
Yeah, I do. So one of the really unique features of RLM, and I've never seen this in anyone else's software, is the on-the-fly reporting and how you can keep drilling it down very quickly with just simple clicks of a button and get very relevant data very fast. I do want to mention one thing. When I was talking about the pipelines on the previous slide, how do you manage your suppliers, right? We have a pipeline to manage suppliers. I mean, you think about it, where do you keep all that data? So there's a lot of different ways. But when it comes to reporting, quick, easy, and then of course you can export the data and analyze it any which way you want, but some really quick and easy ways to analyze data.
Right. So I'm gonna kind of give you a little bit more time here because I was thinking originally we can put some testimonials, but what's a better way to actually get the person who created the system for his own use to tell us more about, you know, why did you even start going down that path and what are you getting out of it?
So, I mean, I talked a little bit about this yesterday, but when you have a company the size of mine, and that's kind of irrelevant, right? I don't care the size of your company. You are generating leads, and you're either the owner or the manager, and if you are not aware of what you're working on, let's face it, without sales, you're nothing, right? You have to have sales. So you have these sales opportunities, right? And if you don't know about them, so I was extremely frustrated. In 2013, I was like, screw it. We are going to start majorly advertising. We launched retail at my company in 2010 with the mobile floor source. Well, by 2013, we had several mobile floor sources. We finally had our retail showrooms up. And I wanted to dominate the market. So I was spending about 15% of the revenue on TV and radio. Remember, this is back in 2013 where it was still relevant, and some digital. And we were driving just a ton of leads, tons of phone calls, tons of web requests. And I'd ask the person who's running my retail, I'd say, so tell me what everyone's working on, where are we at? And he's like, Jason, I don't have a way. And I was like, well, can you create an Excel spreadsheet? And we quickly realized to coordinate all that data was crazy. You couldn't do that either. So looking at all these various CRMs, and when they're not built specifically for our industry, you know, they have their quirks, different things, but the reality is none of them were just simple. And what I wanted was simple. Like, how can I take a 65-year-old retail salesperson and get them to use technology? And so we built a simple, what I felt was simple. I was able to implement it in my whole company, and I have every type of salesperson. And that's why we did it. I wanted control. I wanted to see the data. I wanted to know what's going on with those leads. And one of the reasons I told you guys in yesterday's session that when I launched in 2017, we were doing 82 million. Fast forward 4 years later, we're now doing 167 million. So we've doubled our business in 4 years. You know, and we're not doubling from 1 million to 2 million, which is pretty easy. We doubled from 80 to 160. That's really hard. This is how we did it. Like, this isn't the only reason, but this is a huge key factor. So when people tell me I can't get my people to do it, or I don't think it works, you're full of shit. I'm sorry. You're wrong. You're just wrong. I hate to say it that way. You are wrong. If you use it and you buy in and you actually use it correctly, the results are amazing. And the data is amazing too. Right. But that's why I did it.
So we'll leave, by the way, plenty of time for questions and a discussion. We have, I think, another 15 or so minutes. So I really want to make sure that we turn this into a discussion. But let's go through the kind of initial setup here. What's in it for you, right? Well, we all want more sales. And you can see a lot of words here with ability in them. You get accountability, visibility, ability to remarket. It enables you to actually do business better in a more streamlined way, more predictable way, spending less money and outputting higher quality, right? And that is, I guess, the purpose of thinking about, okay, well, what's my process today? And is it great? Am I using the right tools? The tools that I'm using and the process that I'm using, are they allowing me to do all this, right? Do I have enough visibility into what's happening in my business? Can I really plan ahead and understand what's going to happen with me if I do this versus that? You know, how fast is my response time? At this day and age, people are used to immediate responses. Everybody's on the internet, on their phone. If you rely on an obsolete process and obsolete tools, if you don't follow up with customers on time, well, they will not drive to the next store. They'll just click on the next tab, and they'll continue their research, right? So you need to be on the ball at all times. And how do you do that? Of course, you need to train your team, but you need to provide them with the right tools as well.
When Dimitar and I were talking about this presentation, and he asked me, he said, you know, what if you had to just boil it down, what's the most important thing? And it boils down to one thing. It's more sales. That's what it does. It's more sales. But let me ask, who's someone in here that gets leads through your website and you don't have a lead management system? Anyone willing to allow me to single you out and have a quick one-on-one conversation in front of the group? Who wants to do it? What's your name? Zach. Hey, Zach. You get leads through your internet, through the website? Yep. What happens when you get that lead? Okay, and then how do you know when that sales rep followed up the conversation or what's going on with that lead? No idea. Pretty honest, but... That's right. But that's it. End of story. No idea. Do I follow up with the person? Yes. But do I sit there and go through their orders to make sure it's somewhere? So I have this, when I used to own RLM, and I did all the sales for RLM for a while, and I was support, I did everything. I'd have the same conversation with everyone on the phone, and when I ask that question, I get the same response, and then I get the same response that you get, and then there's a slight justification. But, you know, I follow up with them, I ask them what's going on. It's, yeah, no, that's not the way to do it. So it's really easy because we have it, and then, you know, I can make you understand, well, absolutely, I can tell you how quickly someone gets back. Is it 5 minutes? Is it 10 minutes? Is it 12 minutes? Where we are in the process. If I want to jump in, I don't even have to talk to the salesperson. But it's when we have that conversation and that light bulb goes off in your head and say, well, shoot, this makes all kind of sense in the world. So then you get the system, right? And then 3 months later, we're all on the phone, and you're like, you know, I don't think this is working. You know, we're going to quit paying you the $50 a month or whatever little amount of money we charge you for. And I'm like, no problem. And I'm like, no problem, because look, the reality is I'll help you, but you're my competitor, right? I love it. I actually love it when I hear that you can't do it, because I can. So I know I'm going to beat you, right? Bottom line is I'm going to beat you. You have no chance. Like, you can't implement a simple system that's going to grow the most important thing in your business, your sales. Shame on you. Shame on you for allowing the employees who work with you to tell you, we're not doing that. You don't have that option. So my point is this. If you're not managing your sales, we can have all the conversation in the world, but everyone quickly realizes the value of it. The problem becomes change, right? And that's a big problem in any of your businesses, is how do you change people from doing things one way to the next way? And it's real simple. You do the work. That's it. All there is to it.
Which leads us to our next topic here, which is, okay, well, this is all great, but what's missing? And Jason and I were talking about this earlier. Well, okay, well, yeah, sure, you can get the tools. You can adjust your process, but is that enough? And the answer is no. You have to have a buy-in from your management, from your company. It's a commitment, right? It's not just, hey, I'm going to spend however much I'm spending per month for the tool, and I'll say this is our new process, and I'll turn around and go grab a coffee, and that's it. No, you have to commit to actually doing the work every single day, and that's how you actually get results out. So you need the buy-in from, we have here the dealership's management, but it's technically the whole company, right? Because everybody has to be on board knowing what they're doing, how they're doing it, how they're using the tools, and doing it. The other one is you need to be willing to change, how things work, right? Many businesses, many companies have been around for 20, 30, 50 years, right? And that's great. But that doesn't mean that your process should be what it was 50 years ago, right? So you need to be willing to keep adapting it. You need to be willing to keep learning and changing as you go. Well, how do you know what to change? Well, that's why you need the tools to look at the numbers to understand, well, what's going right, what's not going right, and what's not going right, you adjust it. And you have to stay with it. You have to stay with it. It's not a one-time thing. You buy it, you change it, and you're done. No, this is a daily thing. And I'm gonna get Jason included again here because he's doing it every single day. So if you can.
Yeah. So look, the one thing about getting more sales, that's great, and to me, that's the most important thing. But the data that you develop over time with RLM is off the charts. I mean, really good data. So a lot of you are thinking, oh, well, I have my ERP, so we use our ERP to get that. Your ERP, your point of sale through general ledger, that's only capturing the actual sales that you wrote. Well, unless you're closing 100% of every opportunity, you are not getting all the data. You want to know what's going on with the customer from the first time they reached out to you, all the way up until the point that you made the sale. And then if you're really using RLM really well, like Karen and Buddy Mitchell do, or like America Source does, you still use RLM in unison with your ERP to follow it all the way through, There is something I do want to say, and it's really important. Not all CRM and lead managements are created equal, right? So there's some all the way up to like Salesforce, right? I cannot imagine trying to take Salesforce and teaching my 60-year-old salespeople how to use it. Too complex, right? So we don't need it. It's overkill. There's a lot of other ones, right? And every one of them has their each unique qualities to them. But if someone in the industry is telling you, yeah, we used RLM, however, we're going to switch our customers to a makeshift sugar one, which is another supplier, then you are doing your customer base a big disservice. I'm really talking to one person in this room, but hopefully they know who they are. You're hugely doing a disservice to your customer, hugely. So if you're a manufacturer and you have programs for your customer base, I implore you to not allow RLM to not be the CRM that is made available to those people, because you're doing a huge disservice to the retailers that need that software. You're giving them a second tier, not as good option, and they don't deserve that from the #1 flooring supplier in the world.
All right, so we have another probably 10 minutes here. That's the end of this official presentation, but I just wanted to open it up and see if anybody has any specific questions about. All right, well, let's start from the beginning. Yes, sir.
Just curious, the stages in RLM, is there been made yet one that's like a required stage that you can't move on until you've done it? Like, for example, if you wanted to have your employees make sure that they give the customer warranty information before they collect any money, can you make it so that one of the stages you can't move on to the next stages until they say they've done this one?
You want me to take this?
Sure.
So you can make fields required. Right now, you cannot make stages required, okay? Not saying that that can't be done. That would actually be fairly easy to program in. But as it currently sits, unless you have done something since I sold it to you that I don't know about,
Working on it.
where you working on it, that cannot be done at this point in time. But that's a good suggestion. What I'll tell you when it comes to required things in a lead, I'll give you an example. So I have people ask me all the time, I want to require them to fill out how they heard about us. I said, that's fine, but just remember, if I'm in the process and I meet someone and I'm creating that lead, I may not be able to get that information right away, but I can't save that lead until it is, so I'm gonna have to fake something in that or have an option of unknown. So I'm always careful with what you require and why on the initial part of how you're setting up that lead.
Right. Yes.
So I'm a fairly new company and I've just signed on with FloorCon. Is this in conjunction with that or is this a separate deal?
So RLM is owned by Broadloom, which owns FloorCon. Right. So it's fully connected with the website. It's going to be fully connected to Rollmaster that they just bought. So if you already have FloorCon, all you have to, whoever your rep is, just tell them you want RLM and they'll go over with you those options of how you get it. And, you know, do you want lead management? Do you want the CRM? What pipelines do you want? What fields do you want? Completely customizable.
Right, and just to add to what Jason was saying, so going to the Broadloom the whole concept is as we go forward, we're adding these companies, but the goal there is not to only to add them, but also to connect them so that the data flows from your website into CRM, into your ERP, so you know what's happening throughout that whole cycle. Going back to the concept of data and knowing what's going on, right? You need all these connections. So once we have these companies, it's much easier for us to really send information back and forth. So that's what we're working forward. But yeah, back to what Jason said. Just talk with us afterwards, and we'll figure it out. Yes. Right. That's part of the onboarding process, right? So when somebody comes on board, we spend an hour, 2 hours, whatever it takes to kind of walk you through the system to understand how to set it up. We'll help you set up the different pipelines if you need different pipelines, you know, to understand how to make the best out of it. Of course, you can always play around with it and call us later and say, hey, I forgot how to do this, and we'll do that. There's a set of videos that you can use, and just on your leisure, just, you know, play them in the morning, play them at night, whenever you want. Educate yourself, but yeah, there's a lot of training that comes with it.
I want to add to that. So there's two components to that question. There's training and there's setup. Setup is done by us, by Broadloom, right? We have a conversation with you, we go through a build sheet, and then we build it. The reality is that the initial build never matches, because you can't think all the things, right? Then you use it for a month or so, and then we make the changes that come up. Hey, I want to customize this field, I want to change this stage, da-da-da. Training is done in two ways. One are the videos that Dimitar mentioned, and they're great because there's a full training video, and then we have that broken down into 3 to 5 minute segments. You can just learn the part. And then, of course, there's the 1 hour, hour and a half training that you go through. The reality becomes this. I train you and your first, 3 or 4 staff members. Well, 2 or 3 months from now, you have 3 more staff members, and who trains them? So I always recommend you have got to have an expert on staff who really does the training the way that you want. The reality is that it's really easy. I mean, it really, if you got half a brain and you want to use it, I can teach you how to use that system in under half an hour. If you want it, if you want to actually use it. If you don't, I can spend as much time with you as I want. You're still not going to use it because there's no want. Unless I threaten you, which I don't want to do, I would just rather find some people who want to do it the way that we want to do it. Yeah, you'd have to get the, so there's the lead management module, and then there's the customer management module. You have to have the customer management module, and we could load every one of those up as a contact or a company or both. As long as you can separate it out on the Excel sheet, it can all be merged in. We have to do it. You can't do it yourself, though.
Right. Yes?
What would you recommend for companies who are starting out using RLM? For example, our company, medium size, we've been using it about 1.5 years, and we're really looking to grow with RLM, use it for more and more things. And I'm looking for additional training, like additional sessions to sit down and really see more ways to use it, to integrate more pipelines. Like we only have 1 pipeline right now, and it can be a little overwhelming for a small company. I'm the only tech savvy person there, really.
Right.
And so I'm looking for more resources as to how to grow RLM and use it for, for these things. Like you said you have 19 pipelines, and that's something I'm so interested in learning more about how those other pipelines work.
So I think the simplest solution to this would be for me to get with Dimitar and for us to offer maybe a 6-series webinar series that we put on one each week, and each week we'll cover a different topic, and maybe he'll reach out prior and say, hey, what do you guys want to learn? And then myself or Allison, who, if y'all know Allison, besides me, she's the other expert. And we'll do those, and we'll show you, like, hey, what do you want to learn? You want to learn how to manage installers through? We'll show you. You want to, and look, a lot of the reasons I have 19 pipelines, I didn't come up with all those myself, right? Since I was the guy selling it and training it, like, I'd have a guy say, hey, Jason, can you build me this? And I'll say, holy cow, that's a great idea. And I would ask them, I'd say, do you mind if I actually build that identical pipeline for my own company? Because I'm not going to steal your idea. And they always tell me yes, because look, when you sign up with RLM, whichever type of pipeline you want, this was back when I owned it, we'd actually give you my pipeline. Like, here's how we do it at AFS. Here's the exact fields, the exact stages. Make any changes you want, and most people just take what we use. Now, we don't offer that anymore, but it's not saying that we can't have those discussions to help you. But I think a webinar series would really help.
I don't use RLM right now.
Okay.
Just throwing that out there. If you, looking at your reporting, you have ways of looking for stalled leads in your pipeline?
So, yeah, it's real easy to find stalled leads. Aside from the system notifies the salesperson as well as their manager that you have a stalled lead, you can just click a button and find any stalled leads you want.
What about like an 18 report? When I see 18 of leads?
As far as like how old each lead is?
Where they're at in the pipeline.
Yeah, you can see all that on the listing page. So you have a created at date, you have a last updated date, you have exactly what stage in the pipeline it's at. So you can see all that right there.
What about ordering, like through SEO?
That's above my pay grade. I'm not a SQL guy. I don't ever have to ask. I don't even know. We probably have to ask Dustin.
Yeah, I mean, that gets a little technical, but let's, if you want, we can talk after this. I'd love to understand, how you're planning to use that so that we can offer you the right solution. But ultimately, there's a lot of flexibility built into the reporting itself, so it may be something that's easier to do.
Here's a question that we got on the app here.
Oh.
Can you see pictures and measurements?
Absolutely.
Right.
Take notes.
Yes.
What would be the benefit to running your pipeline, the retail production pipeline, past the point of sale in the ERP?
Well, I can answer that, but we have someone in the audience, I think, that can answer that even better than I can. Karen, you want to take that for me?
Yeah, we built our pipeline from the beginning to go past the point of sale because we were a small team and we needed a way to manage those details. And so from the beginning, when we asked Jason to build it out, we built it from point of sale all the way through to job close. It has to be final money collected and thank you notes sent, follow-up call payments.
Let me add to that. So the ERP you may be on, you may not be able to access it right through your phone, like you can RLM. So yeah, we've made the sale. But let's say now we're, materials are on order. So we've changed the stage to materials are on order in RLM, and then in our ERP, we've actually ordered the materials, right? Those materials come in, now we're scheduled it for install. We move the lead to, install need schedule, whatever you call it, or install scheduled. And then when the job's complete, we move the lead to job complete, now do the follow-up. I'm paraphrasing. So it's just telling you those stages so anyone can check. You can't kind of do those things in the ERP. So it's a really quick way for people to say, well, where are we at? I'm out on the road, someone's calling me, what's going on? I could quickly. So in that respect, that's how we would use it.
Right.
Worth the time that it takes to manually go and say, okay, I purchased this job, so you go and update it.
Yeah, the 10 seconds, yes.
So last question. I think we're running out of time. Yes.
Yeah.
So then the next morning, that person maybe gets to the office and they said job ordered scheduled.
We have a flow chart. So we know who's getting the lead into the next stage.
You can take a lead and you can have as many tasks associated with as many people as you want, right? So I can take a lead, have the primary task, and then have 20 secondary tasks for all different people. Everyone can see what everyone's working on, right, on that lead. And then as people complete and do things, it's building a history automatically. Like, so you can see, okay, here's what happened. So there's no more remembering. It just happens. Right.
No, yeah, that's last question.
So when you go,
Have we gotten that? We haven't gotten this yet, have we?
Oh, we did. Yeah.
They did? No.
We're being shut
Sorry,
down.
go ahead.
so with multiple pipelines, so currently we have one pipeline where we have several people in the company trying to go completely digital, get the paperwork done, right? Could you, in theory, the second it goes from a sale, could it move from that pipeline to a new pipeline where now everybody on the back end of the sale process can move it and task it along as it needs to?
So currently it can't. And the challenge with that is each pipeline has a unique set of fields and a unique set of stages. So if Broadloom was to program that functionality, you'd actually have to do a mapping every time you select. We moved to here, so now we want to move it to this pipeline. Then they're going to have to pop something up on screen that says, all right, well, here's your fields in pipeline A, and here's your fields in pipeline B. Quickly do the match to tell us where you want the data to flow. And what happens if you have 50 custom fields in pipeline A, but only 10 custom fields in pipeline B? What do you want to do with that other 40 fields of data? Then you have the same problem with the stages, right? So can it be done? I'm not saying it can't. We never program that because the reality is that, has that been brought up? It has, but it was never brought up enough where we felt the need to do it. And I believe that if you have the CMM module, you can probably accomplish something, what you're trying to accomplish, a slightly different way. So I think if we had a conversation after the fact, we could probably talk you through a way to do that. You guys, you have CMM or you don't have CMM? I don't remember. Okay, that's right.
But I would like to think that with the acquisition of Rollmaster,
Are we?
that if you find the whole package, that will automatically move along in those stages.
Right. So if you want to pass something from RLM over to Rollmaster, that eventually should be able to happen, right? Because that's the whole user experience, right? You move it
100%.
from one place to another. Yeah. It's not available right now, but it's kind of fresh still. But yes, that's the direction we're going into. So great. Thank you so much. I think we ran out of time a few minutes ago, but really appreciate you joining us today.